Greetings and God bless. I just wanted to do a little piece about visiting Iowa that, we don't really expect Iowa to be like Arizona or, like the desert of California. And it's not. There's plenty of grass and trees and crops and stuff like that. But this was my first, 2 months here. And I've been living in Cedar Rapids the past month or so, and I just visited um, Des Moines this week, and I find it very, very hot there. Also, I visited Iowa City, and I don't know what it is, but there's something about the just the degree of sunlight and I'm a pedestrian. I've lived in Montana where I've walked everybody everywhere. I've walked everywhere. When I was living in New York earlier this summer, New York is known for being hot and whatnot, but for some reason, and the interesting thing is that there's concrete in New York, which is supposed to retain heat and make things extra hot. But the degree of sunlight was not as severe when I was in New York City, in upstate New York, in Albany. It was not so punishing. Not that I can recall where I was like, oh, I need to get an umbrella. But here in Iowa, I bought myself an umbrella for sunshade as I'm walking or as I'm waiting for the bus. So I just wanted to say, if you are planning to visit Iowa and if you're a walker, um, I would make sure, like, I would actually do my visiting of like tourist sites and whatnot. I would try to do everything actually before noon, and I would even say before 11 a.m. So I would get the day started at like 4 in the morning or 5. And I know that sounds like, whoa, but you will thank me because it's so like blazing, like the sunlight is just so punishing there. And if you're a pedestrian, now if you're in a car, of course, you're just going to put on the air conditioner. But if you're like taking public transportation, and I would say there's decent, there is public transportation, and it's somewhat, frequent. You do want to make sure people see you, that the bus drivers see you when you're waiting. Um, but and something else I notice is not all of the drivers speak English, comprehend English. So you do want to just be patient and know what, if you're a tourist and you're like visiting some landmark, just try to make sure you're describing an obvious landmark to the driver. Not to say that they all are learning, English isn't their first language. And I found these drivers were safe drivers. They were good. They were capable. Like, I'm happy that they're there. But when you're a tourist and you're having to navigate the a language barrier, and you're in Iowa, you're not really expecting, like, in New York when I was visiting this summer, uh, everybody at the cash register, everybody, um, doing not everybody, but a majority of people were. They barely understood a word of English, and they were from all over. And that's the American uh, thing is opportunities for people, and they're probably getting paid $2 an hour. And I guess that's how things work. Um, so I just wanted to say though uh, that Iowa is super, super sunny, super blazing hot. And so if you're a pedestrian tourist, do your visits as early as possible. Like, I don't know, like a lot of places probably open at 9 in the morning. Be there at like 8:45 so you can just do your little tour and be inside by like 11:30 a.m. And what I've noticed here in Cedar Rapids, and when I was in for a short time, I was in Des Moines. is nobody is out at like noon or 1 or 2. Like I do not see very many pedestrians. It's probably like 5 total, going like taking a bus from like, a couple miles or something like that. And I think because um, Iowans know it's really super hot and sunny, and it's uncomfortable to be outside. I mean, none of the parks are occupied. Uh, you know, and of course, I'm speaking in grand generalizations, but I just wanted to put that out there. And if you are, planning to be out at noon or something like that, I recommend having a parasol or some type of sunshade, because it is really like the sun is like, your skin feels like it's burning afterwards. And I found this to be the case also when I was living in Rapid City. I lived there for a couple years, and yeah, there's something about the sun there. And I had lived in Montana, which is just one state over, and the sun was not so punishing. I don't know if it was because I was, just a different land mass, like because we were in the valley. Uh, if there's some sort of something that valley provided that deflected some of the sun, or the pollution that was there deflected some of the sun. But that is my advice to tourists visiting Iowa during the summer, especially if you're walking. And of course, what I'm describing is probably irrelevant to all the people who are driving. And I want to say, like, speaking of driving, speaking of people who, like, a lot of people, when I visited Alaska, um, and just over the years, I would talk to people, or see somebody post like they wanted to move to Alaska to get away from everybody. Like, you want to be somewhere where you're not really going to see a lot of people, but where you have amenities. I would say Iowa is the place, because I mean, there's houses and stuff, but and yes, there's people at the malls, but I would say these are family. They're very family centered, traditional families. A lot of people from traditional cultures. Very like Bible, Christian, religious, very very um, just Christian and biblical type of people, I would say here. And so so if that appeals to you, like there'll be like 2 generations of family living in a home. And and I would say there's diverse traditional people, so different parts of Africa or Mexico, and they're very conventional and probably fundamentalist Christian. Uh, Lots of churches. So that's what I have observed. So, but it seems like there's not a lot of people like out. Um, it's not a busy state from what I have observed. Even when I was in Des Moines. So if you're kind of more of I want to move to Alaska, but maybe you don't want to move to Alaska because maybe for some reason you want to be in the southern part, you know, the lower 48. Is that the right word? Like I would say Iowa is kind of like this remote. It's remote. It's like it's a flyover state. And yeah, I just wanted, like, that is just a thought I have had. So, um, but yeah, like it's very very hot here though. Like, so if you're somebody who wants to move to Alaska for the you know cooler weather year round, it's definitely hot here during the summer. But I hear, and I haven't spent a winter in Iowa yet, but I hear it's pretty brutally cold in Iowa. So those are my thoughts that I thought I would share. Thanks for watching. God bless.